So early on, I think you were one of the first people I seen to grab Tooka's mom and actually do an interview with her. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you?
Listen, we pulled that interview and that topic out the mud. Like that came out of absolutely nowhere because, and I want to give a huge shout out to FBG Duck's mom, Sheena, Lashina Weekly.
Shout out Mama Duck.
Yeah, shout out Mama Duck. I love Mama Duck. And I just want to say this, like, she's probably the strongest person I've ever met. The amount of things that she went through and that she's gone through in her life,
Oh, for sure.
she has been able to withstand so many storms, and she's done an amazing job with a cheerful spirit and a good heart. The amount of things that she's been through, I don't know if you guys know. I mean, I'm sure you know, like, even for just losing her son, who was a rising superstar, FBG Duck, just to have that happen. And now she's going through the trial. It's just, she's dealt with so much. And I just hate any kind of Mama Duck slander, only because she's dealt with so much. Like, why do you guys want to keep making her, like, I think we should just send her prayers and just give her, you know, as much grace as we can. Because imagine losing your son, 2 sons.
And she lost like infants and like house fires
That's
and
what I'm
shit
saying.
like that. That was like, whoa, you've really seen some of the worst things that you could possibly see in life.
She's been through so much. She's like I said, she's like the strongest person that I've ever met. I'm like, I can't even believe that you have been through all of this and you're still standing and you're still able to talk about everything and go through everything. It's just, so I just like to, you know, try to just give her as much grace as possible. And
She introduced you to Tooka's mom?
yes, so honestly, it's so funny. I ended up interviewing Mama Duck before all of this happened. I think me and her might have sat down maybe a couple weeks after FBG Duck actually got killed. So I was one of her first interviews, and after we did that, she was like, I want to bring the mothers together. I want to bring mothers from both sides, and I want to stop this violence. So she was the first person to try to create peace.
Push the peace.
Yeah, Mama Duck was the first person to push the peace, and she asked me to help her. So it was like, she was like, my friend is Tooka's mom. I'm like, Tooka? You know what I mean? And she was like, and I got this mom, and I want to bring everybody together.
And I did the round table, right?
And we did the round table. So we brought Tooka's mom, her, Ray Ray's mom, which is another kid that ended up dying. And we all sat around the table and we just talked. And that was the first time in 10 years that Tooka's mom ever got the opportunity to talk about how she was just so upset that everybody was smoking on Tooka. And everybody was smoking on Tooka. Like, do you remember?
Yeah, no, it was a huge trend.
It was crazy.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
A lot of people who didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about. You know.
It was like intense. So she's a mom and she's just at home hearing this, seeing this, and she's just tired and she's outraged. So it was all Sheena's idea. It was all Mama Duck's idea, and I just really helped her. I brought everything together, and we all sat down, and we interviewed each mom separately first. So we have Tooka's mom, and she was pregnant at the time. So everybody in the comments like, why you didn't give her a seat? She's pregnant. Dude, it was like a 5-minute separate interview first, and then we all sat down at the table, and she just cried her heart out, and it just broke my heart. And I didn't even know it was gonna go like that. Like, she started crying, and I was just like, oh my God, this is really gonna be something. But I didn't know it was gonna go as viral as it went completely viral, to the point where all these other outlets came in and kind of like tried to duplicate what we did, which is cool. I think, you know, like I said, the only thing that was annoying about that is just like, when we do something in Chicago, we're still trying to build ourselves as a media hub. So it's like, acknowledge the people that did it first.
That's from Chicago.
That's from Chicago, and try to pour it back in some way, but it didn't happen like that. But it's okay. I think that I wasn't really looking for anything from it. I was just trying to help tell the story, and it did that. So it was amazing.
That's the crazy thing. If you're like a smaller media company these days, is that you could do dope content, and a lot of times it's going to get kind of copied by bigger platforms like me and Remo over here, No Jumper, or realistically that shit is going to get clipped. Like there was a podcast the other day with Joe Smith and his wife who started the OnlyFans. and they both walked out of the same podcast, and the clip was super viral on Twitter, and I went and found it on YouTube and had like 50K. So this shit has, 100 million views across Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and shit, and such a small percentage actually went and watched the video, which that's tough. Like when I started doing podcasts, that wasn't really a thing. People weren't just clipping shit and putting it all over Twitter and every other social network. So it's kind of even harder now to really get a thing going.
It is. It's really hard. And like, I know certain outlets kind of copyright their shit and try to like make sure that they watch it. Do you copyright your stuff? Like, do you let smaller outlets use your clips?
We don't let like YouTube channels post full, versions of our shit, but like in terms of Instagram, we're not looking for that. But I know Vlad is all over it. And sometimes I think that he's doing the smart thing and maybe I should get a little bit more on top of it, but I don't know.
I guess it just depends on how you feel. Because sometimes I'm like cool with people sharing it because it's like, okay, it's bringing more eyeballs. But then if it gets crazy and you're missing out on monetization to pour back into your own, then it gets a little
tricky.
Because like the difference between fair use and copyright infringement is basically like, is this basically a duplicate? Like, is this going to stop people from going to my content? And my thing is like, if you want, like even the Chicago Wave, they asked me one time like, how much are you cool with us posting? And I was like, if you want to do a 60-second clip instead of like a 5-minute clip, I would appreciate it. Just do like a shorter version of it, and maybe don't do every single interesting thing that we talked about in the podcast. Maybe pick a couple of them out because like, I appreciate you drawing attention to it. But at a certain point, if you're making it so that there's no reason for people to go to my content, that feels like it's a different thing, right?
Exactly. And I think this is an important conversation because I think a lot of content creators will gravitate to what we're saying, especially with the thought process of like whether you should take something down or keep it. I think a lot of people go through that because we get pressured and by different rappers to play their narrative sometimes, and it's like, no, we don't. That's not how it goes. But shout out to the Chicago Wave too. That's one of like the most unbiased. That's a good place. That's a good place to go to get Chicago Wave. Yeah, sure. Shout out to Chicago Wave.
Definitely. I want to go back to the roundtable though, because you said you reached out to people. At the time, y'all didn't get any of the opposition's mothers at the table.
We didn't.
How come you guys wasn't able to get someone to come through? Because I seen LA Come Home mom talk about it, and she said that she wasn't comfortable with it.
And like, Mama Duck told us a crazy story about taking a picture with King Von's kid, right? And then having to remove it, basically being told to remove it.
Yes.
Which is kind of dark.
You know what's funny? We tried every angle. We tried to bring all the moms together, but we got a lot of declines. I think.
Who did you reach out to?
We reached out to everybody. We reached out to King Von's mom. We reached out to.
But at this time, that was early on.
This was the first.
The first one. And yes. King Von he was in jail?
No, that was we did the Mothers of Peace. Maybe it was like 2 weeks after King Von got killed.
All right, for sure.
Or maybe it was even a week. I have to double check because it's been already like 2 years since that. But of course, it was too fresh probably for her to want to. You know what I mean? And then we did a number 2, and I actually haven't dropped the full thing. I'm actually gonna drop it next week, the full thing. But it was L.A. Capone's mom, which was from the other side. And if you know the drill history, her son actually dropped one of the biggest drill songs with the line, Shondell, how that hot shit feel. Shondell is Tooka.
Yeah.
And she was at the table with Tooka's mom. So they actually had an exchange where they talked about that.
And this is unreleased?
Yes, it hasn't been released yet. I'm going to drop it soon.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be fire.
So
I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
But at the time for the first one, what other mothers did you reach out to? I'm just curious.
We reached out to King Von's mom. We reached out to a lot of different moms. But mostly we really wanted to try to get Mama Duck with King Von's mom. But we weren't able to do that.
Did you get any kind of reason why, or just the obvious shit that they probably?
No, we didn't. I think
blowback.
Yeah, I think that people just probably weren't ready for that, and it's hard, and that's why I say Mama Duck's one of the strongest people I know because
she was ready to do it, right?
Yeah, it's like imagine, having to take on all of this. This is not easy.